Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Azadpour. I'm biz dev for AWS HPC, which is a fancy word for high performance compute. Uh, all right. Is this better? Fantastic. Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Azadpour. I'm business development for HPC AWS services, fancy word for high performance computing. And today we're going to talk about a solution. I know we've been talking a lot about AI and Gen AI and all the different, big and up and coming. And all those, the prerequisites for them is data. My ex-CEO used to say data is the new currency, and obviously it's that currency is being multiplied by the day. So my question is, how do we handle all that data that you need to digest? And secondly, what can we do today to help you out with that? So that's basically the subject of my section of the talk, and then I'll hand it over for the solution that we're going to talk about. But essentially, if you look at AWS Batch, which is an orchestrator, the idea is whether you're running simulation, you're running machine learning jobs, or what have you, you need to have a queue to submit jobs to and then dispatch that job. So a service we provide today that's a containerized base, which basically it's a virtualization. It's called AWS Batch. And that assists you in not only submitting the job, but also resource orchestration. So what that means is essentially matching your type of job with the resources required at optimized cost. So that's a paradigm shift as you go from on-prem to cloud, right? When you're, on-prem, you basically buy that cluster or your beefed up PC or what have you, and you own that thing 24/7, right? But when you go to cloud, you're paying as you go. So it's just like leasing a car versus buying a car. So now every minute that you're on the cloud, you're incurring some sort of cost. So it's important to optimize that cost. Whether you're a research firm or some sort of budgetary mechanism, that's where the value of the orchestration comes from. And essentially, if you wanted to look at the flow, on the left-hand side, you as the scientist or user, you submit a job, and we have these definitions that assist you in streamlining your job specification. And that goes to a JQ or job queue. And then essentially, when it's time to run that particular job, we orchestrate the cluster and we run the job and we store the results in the bucket or whatever storage capability you have. And if you wanted to look at another orchestrator that we have, this one is called PCS, which essentially it's similar to the batch, except it's a virtual machine level. So it all depends how sophisticated your use case and your development is. Is it containerized based or is it virtual machine? So virtual machine gives you basically a desktop as if you own that compute resource. And again, you have the same mechanism. So you have a set of queues that you submit the jobs, and those jobs goes to what we call node group, which are essentially clusters, and then you run the job. And I left a few, references. If you need to know more about it, you're welcome to, reach out to any of these resources. So up to this point, we basically provided a service to assist you to orchestrate and run your jobs, whether they're simulation, modeling, or what have you. And then we provided the infrastructure or the intelligence to run those jobs at performance and at scale and optimal cost. And now we're going to look at the solution that Fovus provides to provide even further automation as well as intelligence.
Thank you, Mark, and the AWS team, one of the best partner we have the privilege to work with. Hello, everyone. I'm Feng Bo. I'm the founder and CEO of Fovus. As a trusted partner of AWS for HPC and building on top of AWS solutions, Fovus is the world's first AI-powered serverless high-performance computing platform. that actually uses AI to get, optimize, and manage HPC power for you. And essentially what it means is that we're using data-driven AI approach to automatically determine the optimal HPC strategy. And then on top of that, intelligently orchestrate the entire cloud logistics to make sure that we optimize and sustain your time cost optimality for your workload amid a fast evolving cloud infrastructure that is keep changing. So that as a computational scientist, you can really focus on your innovation, say goodbye to all the cloud management hassles, and then still be able to enjoy the optimality and the efficiency benefits, which is assured by our data-driven approach. So let me show you how it actually works from the user perspective. Because of all the optimization, heavy lifting that we do behind the scenes, so for you as a user, now all you have to do to deploy your large batch workload or a computational pipeline, it's as simple as just deploy the workload. That's all you have to do. Everything else is going to be handled, taken care of by us. And we provide a very intuitive interface that includes a web interface, command line interface. Now we also offer integration with Nextflow. If you're running any data analytics pipeline, you can launch it without changing your code with Fovus and AWS as the infrastructure layer very easily. It's going to be a single command or a few clicks on our web UI. As simple as that. There's no cloud setup needed, no cloud management needed. You don't need any cloud expertise or experience. Just deploy your workload. As simple as that. That's why it's so easy to adopt and to migrate your workload now to AWS. And then there's multiple levels of optimization that we do behind the scene to make it so simple and so optimized for you. Given the time limit, I'm going to only highlight a couple of important ones here. So first of all, we're actually benchmark your workload for free to effectively explore the HPC strategy space. What that means is that we actually pack your real production workload into a micro benchmark. We actually benchmark them against all applicable AWS configuration and strategies that is possible. So we actually measure the performance, we collect database, quantitatively understand how different strategy, including CPU architecture, different CPU choices, GPU choices, memory configuration, storage configuration, IO bandwidth, networking configuration, parallel computing setting, everything, pretty much everything that matters to the performance and cost for your particular workload, we benchmark them and create this database, what we call the benchmark profile. And this is how we gain the visibility into the strategy space. The best part of this is it's free service. We bear the cost, you enjoy the benefits. Now, once we have this data, when you launch your real production workload, this is how we'll be able to pull the right data and then be able to make predictions on top of the data. And then on top of that, automatically determine what is the optimal strategy, right? And then based upon that, basically determine, sorry, I think I was still talking about this slide. And then based upon that, be able to deploy the workload to minimize your runtime and cost. And this optimization is subject to the real-time availability and pricing dynamics of AWS resources, as well as your objectives. So you can essentially get a different optimal strategy for your timing critical workload versus your time sensitive workload. Another important optimization we do is we automatically leverage spot instances. These are the idle resources that are highly underutilized in some of the cloud regions and zones. So AWS has the incentive to mark down the price, but they don't guarantee availability. So you have to handle the interruption. There's random interruption. So we have automated everything so that you just need to switch a button to say, okay, Fovus, leverage spot instances. And we really do it very intelligently. We have your benchmarking data. We monitor the spot availability and pricing dynamics so that we build a statistical model to estimate, okay, if I'm going to run your workload with all this different kind of spot strategy, what is going to be the predicted time and cost, right? And then we run these strategies as the most optimal strategy, second optimal, third optimal, and start to distribute them across multiple cloud regions and zones to make sure you're getting a very good balance between your optimality and your availability of those resources. And by the way, we also automatically handle failover. If any interruption happen, we support checkpointing. We migrate the entire workload with existing result to another spot instances that's available somewhere else and keep running until everything finishes. So we assure also the integrity of the result while making sure that we can significantly reduce your cloud expenses. So let's see what's the real-time impact. So I'm going to briefly show you two case studies here. So Chemspace is one of our customers running a very large-scale GROMACS MD simulation, previously managed their own AWS environment. They were facing challenges about selecting the right GPU configuration, also finding enough GPU because they're so high demanding to run. So overall, their large workload takes 4 weeks of time to run, and actually it can cost them more than $5,000, which is too expensive. So they end up not being able to migrate those workloads. I'll give you 1 second, just take a guess. With our optimization, determine the strategy automatically with data-driven approach, massively parallelize them, find enough hundreds of GPU running in parallel across multiple regions. And better than that, most of them are actually spot GPU, idle GPU that are super cheap. Take a guess on how much we can improve the time and cost here. And here's the truth. So we were able to actually reduce the runtime from 4 weeks to just 6 hours by running everything in parallel. And at the same time, cut down their cloud expenses by 85%. And that's what really enabled them to migrate all these large-scale compute to AWS. Very similar story. This is another startup, biotech startup, running high-throughput virtual screening with 500 million ligand at that scale. And they were using active learning approach. So they have iterations of traditional docking, training, AI inference in multiple cycles to train an accurate enough neural network and make prediction across the entire set. And then on top of that, pick the top 10% and run traditional docking to validate the result. So this entire pipeline is very computational heavy. Previously, they managed their own environment. It took them 24 days, and it would have cost them more than $20,000. And this kind of face the same challenge. Now with Fovus, optimizing the strategy, leverage spot instances, scales to tens of thousands of cores across the region for them to get everything running in parallel. We were able to reduce their workload runtime from days to just hours by over 100 times in some cases. At the same time, again, cutting down their cloud expenses by 5 to 8 times, which significantly accelerated their DMTA cycle. At the same time, cutting down, make their discovery more effective, cost-effective at scale. We've also published a lot of case studies, benchmarking studies on our website. You can go to fovus.co to look into detail. But essentially, we benchmark a lot of the commonly used computational chemistry open source software used for drug discovery like GROMACS, OpenMM, MD simulation, Ember, and you can find these benchmarking results. Essentially, what we do is we throw in this workload, let Fovus optimize the infrastructure, and see what's the best time and cost efficiency that we can achieve for these kind of different computational workload. And the reason why did you see a range here is only because we were running this workload with 3 different objectives: minimize cost, minimize time, and minimize both. So you get the cheapest strategy versus the fastest strategy and the right balance in between. That's why you see a range. Now, GROMACS MD has been perceived as very cost ineffective to run on cloud GPU, but that's only because you don't have a good strategy. Now, with Fovus, that's not the case anymore. With optimal strategy, you can actually achieve a cost efficiency as good as $29 per microsecond and a performance as fast as more than 1,100 nanosecond per day. And this is, again, depending on the size of your proteins. But if you're running something similar, and if you're achieving a performance or cost efficiency that is far away from what you're seeing here, that means your strategy is not really optimal. So come talk to us. We can help you guys optimize that. Similar story with AlphaFold. Traditionally, people have been running AlphaFold with very suboptimal strategy, very powerful GPU that is overkill. So that's why you're seeing very bad cost efficiency and performance. And especially with AlphaFold, there's actually 2 stages. The data pipeline stage doesn't even use GPU, but a lot of time people run both stages with GPU, end up wasting about 60 to 70% of their time. They're charged by the GPU pricing, but they're not actually using the GPU even when they run a workload. But with Fovus, we fully optimize everything. So we run it in a 2-stage strategy. The first stage is optimal CPU strategy. The second stage is optimal GPU, kind of separate them and build a pipeline automatically. But overall, as you can see, we can easily save up to almost 70% of the cost, while at the same time cutting down the runtime by 45%. These are the value-added glance to summarize everything. So Fovus can free up your time. You can expect to get 1 day per week more time on innovation. These are the previously unproductive time lost dealing with managing cloud complexity. Now it's available for innovation. Fovus can significantly accelerate your time to insight by over 100 times. We can help you reduce your workload runtime from weeks or days to literally hours, and accelerate your DMTA cycle. Fovus also can help you free up your computational budget. It can improve your cost efficiency of running those computation-intensive workload on AWS by 5 to 10 times, so that it will make your large-scale discovery, computational discovery, AI discovery a lot more affordable at scale. We're at Boost 405. We're actually offering also a free trial with white glove onboarding right now. So if you wanted to see Fovus in action, please come to Boost 405, talk to us. We'll get an expert answer all of your questions. Thank you.